Disruptive Blockchain Solutions. I introduce my sister to my right from Nairobi.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is an exciting topic. So we've been talking a lot about the money behind what's happening right now. So I want to ask our panelists, we're talking about disrupting or enabling Black power through disrupting blockchain solutions. I want to ask these guys, for me, I just want to say outright that I think that that means about using our money and our coins in a way that empowers ourselves and builds our own systems, because we keep talking about the systems that be, and I think that blockchain can allow us to build our own systems. So I want to ask the panelists, starting with the gentleman on my right, because I know his passions and what he does, and I'm hoping he could share with us how they're disrupting one of the biggest power structures right now in blockchain.
Thank you very much, Eden. Hi, everyone. My name is Victor Akoma Phillips. I'm from Nigeria. I've heard a lot of people talk about Nigeria here, but actually I've been there for about 38 years of my life. So I think I'm an authority to talk about that. And you will all agree with me that Nigeria is probably the most populous Black African country, right? Mm-hmm. So, but the amazing thing about Nigeria is the fact that just only about 40% of those people are actually living in the urban sides, the urban parts of Nigeria. It's so ironic. So for me, when working in Nigeria was so interesting, because I worked in Lagos, and I worked with probably one of the most successful companies in the world, starting from MTN. MTN happens to have about 80 million subscribers. MTN Nigeria is actually a telecommunication company in Africa. Some of us know MTN. And then after that, and I moved to the one everybody probably knows, Cisco Systems, which is an American company. Then from there, I moved on to a combination of VMware, Cisco, and EMC, also a very popular company. Finally, then with Dell, which we all know. So then you probably wonder, where did blockchain come into it? But I noticed that while I was in Cisco and Dell, there was a lot of hush-hush about blockchain. But the most important thing actually was a buzzword to me was decentralization, immutability, security, being fast, and actually the ability for it to be transparent. Those words were very, very key to me. So we all know Africa has corruption. It's not new to everybody. We say that, right? But the reality is the fact that...
Second only to America.
Yeah, they say that, right? But it's this overhyped. So we said if there's a system that is available to actually help bring things more open. Hence, after a while, when I moved over to Canada, where I live today, I decided to quit Dell and actually pursue what I'm doing today, which is being in the blockchain, using the most popular thing everybody knows, building an exchange. But I was going to build an exchange that will empower people. So many people talk about Nigeria. I've heard a lot of people talk a lot about it. And I asked Mr. John to put up a picture. I don't know if you wanted to put it, and I wanted to use that as an instance to make you guys know that you cannot be in Nigeria and say because most of us here have internet. And internet is now an easy thing for all of us, right? But you have to consider USSD. Now, that picture you guys are probably seeing is a typical day in Nigeria. It's normal for you. That's a bus. That's a bus in Lagos. Lagos is probably one of the most popular cities in Nigeria. But this is how people live. Trust me. I mean, that's a bus on a Monday morning. I took this picture on one of the Mondays I was going to work to my EMC office. And that guy was standing at the back, and it was normal. It was regular. It's normal. And these yellow buses are very, very unique for us in Lagos. But this is a transportation system. There is a problem. Face it, whether you like it or not. Then the other picture is a typical house. That's a very good house. This thing you're seeing here, I bought this house. Okay? But when I bought this house, there was a reason. There were people that were living there. You don't want to know the type of people that are living there. And this is in Lagos, guys. What I'm showing you here, you know why I'm picking Lagos? We all probably know Lagos. Lagos is the urban city of Nigeria. So I think there was a problem. And then when I left Dell, we now decided to say, you can actually do something that will deliver transparency, that will actually reach out to everybody. Then we created a cryptocurrency exchange that would actually not just do the exact type of cryptocurrency everybody does, not just go to a certain part of some countries and get an agency to do a customer service for you. Then the guy is coming out there talking to somebody and saying hello, and the guy say, yes, my name is this, and then he's talking to a guy in Nigeria that probably lives in a village that doesn't understand the language he's speaking, or can only talk to just that 40%. So we decided to say, let's do the kind of one that is really grassroots based. So it's only through grassroots that we could actually reach out to people. And then we're able to get people that speak, in Nigeria, for example, there are close to hundreds of ethnic all of us could be here in Nigeria, everybody in this room, and will not understand what we're all speaking, and we're in the same country. That's how Nigeria is, so you know. So what that meant for me is that I needed to get things that were actually closer to the people. And hence we said, let's do this. Then, why is it a cryptocurrency exchange? Take it or leave it. Economic power and awareness are the two things that can make a country or a people powerful. So that's just a brief part of what I just want to say quickly to this. Then maybe as the questions come, I'll be able to delve a little bit more further. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we've talked about exchanges that are working directly, actually, with cryptocurrencies. But we also have folks on the panel that are doing projects that are working with farmers, that are working with folks that are, I'll let him talk a little bit about it, actually. Please, go ahead.
All right, thank you. My name is Tongai Choto. I'm a software developer, product development at Bitmari. I'm based and work and live in Zimbabwe. So my story is a bit different. I graduated in 2015, computer science and mathematics from the University of Zimbabwe. So I was like during that period where you're trying to figure out what next. And in my mind, I was like, so I'm going to get a job. 8 to 5, and that's it. That can be like where I stop. So during that period, that's when I met Mr. Mapondera and Mr. Sinclair Skinner, and that's the first time I heard about Bitcoin and the blockchain. And literally that night I went home and I slept like I think 4 a.m. reading about blockchain, and I thought this is what I was looking for. And sometimes I equate music and technology to each other because, music, sometimes you don't understand the words, but you like this. You really like it. So I didn't even understand blockchain at that time, but I knew this is what I was looking for because this was a technology that would remove us from a trap that we enter not knowing or not having a choice, but you just get into what everyone else is doing. So the story now gets into me developing solutions because what I think is for you to develop new solutions, you need to use new technologies. If you keep using the same things that the people that are oppressing you are using, then that will mean your solution will be the same as theirs. So blockchain.
I did interrupt you. Please say that again. That bears repeating. Thank you, and apologies.
So if you keep using the same tools that your oppressors are using, then you will not produce different results, right? If you use money to try to solve problems, you can't out money them, but you can out idea them, if such a word. You can out blockchain them, right? So that's why I got into this space because I saw a real opportunity to create something that literally has never been created before. So that got us with the mentorship of Mr. Mapondera. He's also Zimbabwean. We worked with women farmers. We created a platform I remember yesterday the ambassador was talking about the African diaspora. One of our taglines is building the African diaspora's financial solutions. So what we did with women farmers, we said, Zimbabwe, we did the land reform. The black majority now has land. But there's a real issue with knowledge. There's a real issue with finance. There's a real issue in turning that land for it to become profitable. So we built this platform that connects sponsors and farmers in Zimbabwe for them to get finance, to learn, so that you're not just given money and you don't know what to do next with your project. So you also learn and you also produce the produce, then the sponsors are able to share. So this is a business model. It's not like an NGO that just gives out rice, and the next week the family no longer has food because you just gave out rice, right? But if you give out people inputs, if you give them knowledge, then you reach a point where now it's a business. People this side can be able to assist people back home. I don't call it in Africa, I call it home. So you assist people back home, right? Again, what the ambassador said really caught to me, because right here in this room, this is the African diaspora. These are the solutions that we're trying to build. It goes to our topic right now. We're saying disruptive blockchain solutions. So that's the short story of how I got into this space. So right now, we actually did this and it worked. This is not a white paper. This is not something we're thinking about, like how can we do this? This is something that was already done. 80 women farmers across the country. We partnered with Agribank Zimbabwe, which is like 47 branches across Zimbabwe. And people did their projects. They were successful. We impacted 80 families, right, using this model. So now we're looking at pushing it towards the decentralization space, using smart contracts. We're using the Neo blockchain to create contracts that are almost trustless, but because they still the human factor, you still need to make sure everything is going well. So this is whereby you can connect with the farmer in Zimbabwe. You do a project, say for $2,000, for $3,000. Over a year, you get your return from there. So this is now using smart contracts. So I'm talking, I'm making emphasis on the business aspect of it, because this is what we want, we need to get to. We need to get to disruptive solutions that actually work for each and every day person, not to remain stuck again in the white paper space, in the code space, because the most important thing is technology is just a tool. People now need to start to use it in a way that actually makes sense. So yes, thank you.
Yes. So I don't know if you all noticed the trend. We're talking about actual projects that are happening, and you mentioned we're not talking about the white paper space. And so I wanted to know if our other panelists, what projects are you all working on, and how are they who are they directly impacting? Who are they directly? We've talked about farmers in Zimbabwe. We've talked about this is going to be throughout Africa, the exchange. So I was wondering if the other two panelists could talk a bit about what industries they're looking to disrupt and who they're empowering.
Okay, so my name is Joshua Arma. I'm a data scientist and blockchain engineer. I've been working as an engineer for 8 years. The specific project I'm working on right now is called Nurse Token. We are disrupting the global shortage of nurses. Basically, to pretty much put a nurse in a hospital, they have to be credentialed. And that process could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months. So you imagine a disaster happens, something happens, you know, God forbid, they can't be placed. So right now, that is one of the largest workforces out there is nurses, right? So we're pretty much creating a faster way to do it, which would take up to 3 days. And the token is a way to reward nurses. If you're familiar with like myriad rewards or the reward systems we use now, nurses also deserve a reward. So that's like the incentive for them. And then hospitals actually pay every time they have to verify and credential a nurse, like every single time, no matter if they work in this different system or not. So that cost is never passed over to anybody. So the hospital has to take the burden, and their H&R department deals with that complexity. So pretty much we're creating a global standard, like a passport for nurses, where you stick it into one system, and then hospitals can access it anywhere in the world, and the nurse could be put instantly to work. And we built this from another business called Snap Nurse, which is based in Atlanta, and we already have 3,000 nurses and over 15 hospitals, like, Cancer Center, Treatment Centers of America, a few others like Emory. So they use it now, and we already seen we are paying to credential nurses in Snap Nurse, and that's a huge issue. So we spun off into this sister company to solve a huge issue, because as nurses become patients, who's going to take the new jobs? Obviously, we may not in the actual shortage of nurses, but the process could be simplified to create a more global standard to put nurses in the workforce now. So on that project, that's what I'm specifically focused on, and also been collaborating with other blockchain projects as well. And my main focus has always been in health tech, ad tech, fintech. So there's a lot of solutions. But at the end of the day, we're building a real serious focus on, disrupting a health sector issue that, if you look at it now, doctors have the same issues. For 1 in every 5,000 people, there needs to be a physician. So you can imagine for nurses.
Thank you. America?
Hi.
Wonderful work.
You're probably wondering, why am I even on this panel? I'm asked myself that same question with Sinclair, but I'm really happy that Sinclair is letting me speak on the panel, because I wanted to bring attention to what's going on in Puerto Rico. Why is there cryptopreneurs moving to Puerto Rico? And honestly, I'm somebody who's been in the blockchain space since, I would say 2015. I learned about it from a Korean church. They told me about Bitcoin, and I was like, are we allowed to talk about this? But then I got more involved, and then 2016, I was looking for immutable data. It's like, oh, okay, use blockchain and stuff. But Aston Clark, he's one of the individuals who built the blockchain lab here at Howard University. He actually went to a program with me where they selected 25 students across the country to attend a summer immersion program about blockchain and cryptocurrency. It completely changed our life. It actually convinced us to stay in the blockchain space, because when somebody first sees the blockchain space, they see all the troll fighting. They're like, is this really for us? And we're like, yes, there's space for everyone. The blockchain space is for everyone. But really in regards to Puerto Rico is the regulation space has put in even Americans in kind of like a little corner now. It's like, oh, we want to use this technology, but we don't want to have the Security Exchange Commissioner to fine them when they're really trying to raise capital. So now they're trying to look at where can they be a more crypto-friendly jurisdiction, and it's leaving people behind. So people that don't want to be behind, they're moving to Puerto Rico. But also there's people that are involved in the crypto space that people are saying, oh, this is crypto colonialism. But the thing is, it has evolved. The ethos of blockchain is we're very conscious with capital. There's this movement called conscious capitalism where you can be woke and not be broke. I'm all for that. Because for me,
they got to say that again. That bears repeating.
Yes, you can be woke and not be broke. Actually, Luke Cage says you can be a woke superhero but not be a broke superhero. So Luke Cage deserves the credit. But yeah, it's just I've gotten to that point where I'm having that conversation with my parents. Yeah, I'm moving to Puerto Rico. I was like, you have no family there. There's the blockchain family there, and it's really more global than you think. You have people that are coming together. It's like, look, if we can try pilot projects, it can actually be a center point to work in other countries. So right now, a lot of the companies from Canada, America, they're setting up in in the Caribbean. But the thing is, we're the African diaspora is also in the Caribbean, and how are they getting attention too? How can they also be part of this movement?
Can you tell us some of the projects that people are working on in Puerto Rico, or some of the things that are happening, especially after the recovery right now?
Yeah.
What are the types of things that are
So
happening on
a
the
lot of,
ground?
I mean, like, a lot, at first it's like, why do we need the blockchain? At first you need like infrastructure. If you're able to have those solutions for the infrastructure, you're able to build out the sustainability projects that you need. So a lot of right now it's focused on solar power. Puerto Rico is like the second largest buyer of Tesla solar and storage battery solutions, just right before Germany. And I'm not sure if you guys seen that movie, The Third Industrial Revolution. You should see it. Where like they're focusing a lot on the infrastructure. There's also like people working on solar power kitchens, and they're like in a way like if the power goes out, how are people going to be able to go to school? The kids are missing school, so this way they can continue feeding the children if there's power outages, given like hurricane season and stuff. I just want to bring up my friend Timothy, because I'm talking about Puerto Rico. I'm not Puerto Rican. He's Puerto Rican, but I wanted him to share his thoughts about. I want to share his thoughts about like how do you feel about.
We're going to actually
about
open up
new
to
residents.
questions, and we can
Okay,
we
cool,
can
yeah.
we can integrate them into the questions. But I wanted to. We're
Yeah.
tight on time, and I want to make sure that folks have the opportunity to ask these guys some questions. We've got, Cubidex. We've got BitMarie. We've got this gentleman with. Creating nursing and medical solutions. So I want to just open up the floor.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I forgot to mention I'm also with the UN Blockchain for Impact. So we want to hit the sustainability goals by 2030. So that's why I'm also here. I'm also here to gather ideas and gather groups who want to hit those sustainability goals.
Questions?
She's good now.
Good afternoon. My question, I'm listening and I'm new to the space, kind of. But I haven't heard what could sustain this technology. I'm listening to regulations coming forth. Of course, the SEC is all over the place with it. And I'm only still just seeing a code. And I'm trying to understand, we're talking about empowering people. How are we going to empower people with the code, with just the code? Now, let me just really quick. I heard someone mention a physical asset being a part of empowerment. But if you don't have a physical asset, a value, and all you have is the code, what sustains that?
So I'll quickly answer this so shortly. By 2020, there'll be 50 billion connected devices, and right now there's 11 billion connected devices. That's already way up from 6 billion devices from 2016. Why does that matter? Because every phone you have could be considered a node. So what gives us the actual ability to sustain this is mobile technology. So if you notice, a lot of blockchain platforms are really focused on mobility. They're focused on making blockchain less complex to have hashing algorithms so that your phone can power the decentralized network that exists. So at the end of the day, you can have a localized infrastructure like a solar panel, and you can have, let's say, 20 different mobile devices, but you don't need necessarily anything but electric and maybe some basic LAN networks, which are local area network connections, to power a local, let's say, something in Lagos or something in, the middle of America where there's no, Wi-Fi, right? So the reason that matters is only because it circles back to we are in an age of computing where once we have quantum computing, which we're not there yet, but it's coming, it's going to be a wrap. So you just have to understand that connected devices, which people are calling IoT, has been around, systems have been around, and what's sustaining them is our adoption in mobile.
Hi, my name is Victor again. One of the things I've learned from working with an IT company and everything to do with technology is the fact that the harder you work behind the scene, the more you code, the more you do all the very difficult stuff, try to think it through more, the easier probably for the person out there. So in other words, if you do your homework very well, you do the real work, you probably will sell simplicity some more. So why am I saying this? Where I come from and my background is the fact that I'm talking to people that do not probably have never even seen a phone. So what the question is asking, how do I take off that complication from people? And then, you know, like I said, in Nigeria, just only 40% of people that are urban. What happens to the other people? It starts from here, the education. And that's why when we started at Cubidex, we said 3 core value propositions: education first, then adoption, inclusion, then adoption. It goes in that flow, deliberately that way. We need to start educating people. We need to start teaching people some of these things. And that's the problem we're having. Picture an Africa that is 1.5 billion people. Look at what the ambassador said. So if you keep people away from the education, you know, so when you're able to educate people, when you're now doing all the techie stuff and every other thing, trust me, they can relate with it. And I think for us in this part of the world, especially our own type of race, we need to concentrate on that. And I saw that from my little experience working with a company like Cisco that grew from a very small 22 staff people. They were able to spread for a distribution channel of close to almost 10 million. It was about education. And they were able to sell Nexus switches. And that's the way it goes for everything. Even Apple, even everything. They try to work hard in the background. So I think that's where it starts from. That's my take. Thank you.
Yeah, still on the issue of sustainability, one thing that I've seen that will really sustain this is the community. That's it. It's the people in here right now. If you see our buttons outside the way, they are lovely people buttons. They're not code, they're not Python, they're not C#. It's I love Black people. Why? Because it's the community that's going to drive this into the next stage, right? So that's the biggest thing that I see as a solution that will sustain all of this that we're talking about right now. Yeah.
I just wanted to answer the gentleman's question, like how is it backed? So like different cryptocurrency, different blockchains, they have different governance models and they're driven by different economic principles. So let's take EOS for example. So it has an inflation, and that inflation is being paid to the block producer, like EOS Nairobi, EOS Detroit. They're some of them are paid by block producers. They get paid about 100 EOS a day, which is about like $4, so $400 a day. So like EOS Nairobi, they're a paid block producer, and they're able to use those proceeds to fund projects and on whatever initiative they're doing. So the thing is, these are not backed by debt at all. These cryptocurrencies are not backed by debt. So really, it's converting from what's backed by debt to what's not backed by debt. You know, this week is like the 10-year anniversary of the Lehman Brothers collapse. Just keeping that in mind, that this is a transition of a new economy. If you're not part of it, you're literally missing out the biggest wealth transfer of any generation is going to be seeing. So this is what I want to keep in mind.
And one last thing, blockchain and cryptocurrency are not the same thing.
Thank you.
And blockchain can exist without crypto. And there's plenty of examples. Actually, probably blockchain's been around longer than we know crypto has been around.
There's like different applications, but one of the main applications I'm looking at is like how do you able to build a new economy that's not based on debt? Basically, to me right now, like a lot of schools, you know, so I'm seeing students graduating with debt.
It's important for us, and the reason why I sort of highlighted what he said was it's important for us to make sure we don't conflate the things, especially with a lot of folks in the room that are learning. It's important to make sure that we don't interchange blockchain.
Yeah, like the Bitcoin white paper, it doesn't like mention the word
absolutely
blockchain once. All these other white papers, they say blockchain.
I'm sorry, ladies, we got
Crazy.
the wrap up signal. I want to get this last question in before we take
okay.
Yeah, my question was just, do you guys have any tips or resources for people who want to get into blockchain engineering?
The biggest resource you can do is just get started, because too much of the time you're going to learn theory. It's like learning machine learning, right? you can learn all about the theory, but applied science is already existing. So just get started and fail forward. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to worry about coding. It's not gonna break your pockets. It's not gonna break anything around you. It's gonna tell the computer that is not right, and it's gonna spit out an error. So at the end of the day, you have to put in the time. It's like being a carpenter, an electrician. It's just another way of getting in the game. You find a mentor, become an apprentice, code for free, get your resume popping, and then you good. And then you gonna be making money or doing whatever you want to do as an engineer. Because being a blockchain engineer is more about algorithms, data structures, but really also understanding that you're never going to be dealing with the front end. That pretty interface that we're creating for user experience, you're not going to be dealing with that. You're dealing with systems level programming. And really, you got to understand a lot about just how that works without trying to have the prettiest interface, right? Which is we call command line for coders, right? So that's just a simple tip. They say put 10,000 hours in to master craft. I just say get started, and it will rapidly help you transfer your knowledge.
If you're just getting started, there was a panel earlier by some gentleman out of Howard Blockchain Lab. There are free Solidity courses. I think there are Scala courses. So if you're just starting out, and I don't know if you're in DC, but I know even in Nairobi we have free classes throughout the city. So find a lab in your city. Find folks, the blockchain community. There are free coding classes out there. Start there. That would be my recommendation.
I recommend 2 resources: Blockchain Education Network, Ben. They're like opening up chapters. They're also opening more chapters on this side. And the second one is Block Geeks. They have really good educational videos to look at.
All right. Thank you.
Our panel round of applause.